Rainbow Six North American League Analyst Desk, your host Dowie here with Caliber Jacob and Jesse J. Chick, our two analysts, and we got Beastcoast versus Parabellum coming up. It's a battle at the bottom. Again, we know standings can't even change. Beastcoast is going to finish last on the stage no matter what, but there are SI implications for what happens in this match.
Yes, indeed. We have implications, not for these squads. Beastcoast lost their SI chance a couple weeks ago, I think. Parabellum lost it in our off time between the two Playdays as APAC North concluded and knocked him out of it. However, Dark Zero and XZ both can lock it in here if Parabellum do not win in regulation. If PB do win in regulation, then I don't believe anybody gets auto-confirmed, but it does make things a little bit easier for both teams. Well, depending on the score, it could make it easier for XZ. But yeah, we could end up in a good spot for either of those teams. Both of them, though, very likely to qual anyways.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, both likely to qualify, but this is yet another one of those occasions where it could happen right here.
Yes, exactly. This could be the lock-in.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I mean, coming into this one, like, what's the story here? Obviously, both of these teams having struggles, both these teams making some changes between Stage 2 and Stage 3.
That's
It's been rough. Is that it?
That is the story of this game. It's literally which team had the better rookie acquisitions. Because everyone on Parabellum was saying it was the guys on PB. It took a long time for both guys on Beastcoast to actually come into the fold and start giving us more of a clear picture of what we can expect from them at a higher level. For me, it's literally rookie integration in a system that wasn't necessarily the best coming into this stage. Both Beastcoast and Parabellum had their own share of struggles last stage. They both decide they want to make two massive changes coming into this one, and both of them have been met with degrees of success.
Well, let's talk Beastcoast specifically. Now, this is a team where, I mean, based on the results of this stage, based on how the kind of year has gone in general, I feel like having, watched a lot of games and a lot of different esports over the years, you blow this roster up. This is a complete revamp situation. I don't know. What part of the Beastcoast roster would you keep? What part would you change?
I mean, their coach Rams has talked to me a lot about how this team is building for the long game, how they're looking not just to succeed here, but they're looking for SI, they're looking for next year. But given the results, I cannot imagine they keep everybody. Maybe they do. Maybe they really believe in this core and they think they can turn it around. More time with Ferda will, produce better results. Maybe they're seeing that in scrims. But from an outside POV, this team certainly has been struggling, and I think there's a couple of key players you can point at on this roster who particularly have not necessarily been holding their own. Unfortunately, Ferda, through the few games that he's played, has been, on average, the worst player in the league that we've seen so far in the NAL, other than coaches and subs and such like that. Otherwise, I think it's been a bit of a rough stage for Zeno in his first come into this league as well, and Anthony has also kind of struggled at times. So, there's plenty of fingers to perhaps point around, but...
There's blue. All right.
Maybe you bring John in.
He's a higher rated player than me? What?
Whoa.
76 is the highest of the talent that we've seen so far.
Low
so
accuracy, though, I gotta say.
Well, Blue can work on that. Okay, get that headshot percentage up and get him into the league, Maybe.
What I'm finding is that it feels like reaction time is weighted higher than a lot of other scores.
Reaction time and tracking, both will really tank your score if you don't do it very well.
I guess so, because
From our experience doing the test, yeah.
Yeah. Apparently so.
It's a strange one. But to answer your question about what parts of this roster you keep Surf, as far as I'm concerned, to keep him. I think there's also been enough of a case maybe for Anthony to also keep that same spot. If we're talking about from a GM mode perspective, I think he's been able to do way more to step up and be kind of reminiscent of the old Anthony that was playing last year on another Beastcoast team that was in a very similar position to this, where he was the best player on a roster that was still looking for some kind of progress. Ultimately, Beastcoast is unfortunately a name synonymous with bringing rookies up and then only giving them one stage, and if it doesn't work out, then they're gone. That was the case with Young Alec and Jay back, was it stage 3 of last year? They were given basically one shot to prove their worth, and then they were gone, and there wasn't really a chance for them to come back and try it again. I wonder if they are really going to hone in on what they said, playing the long game, working with this exact core of guys to make something work. I'd be okay with that if there were any really positive things to say about this team, but regrettably, you may end up faring better going back to the drawing board and looking for different players at this point.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, this is professional sports, right? I mean, whether it's video game or otherwise, it's a situation where you're brought in, you're expected to excel at the highest level of the game, and if you can't do that, as an organization, I feel like you're obligated to find someone who can. And that sounds harsh, but that's just how it is, you know. That's just the job you've chosen, you know. You got to perform.
I do think we need to mention Beast Coast have now won a game. They went most of the stage without finding one, but they finally got their first win. And let's be real, they don't beat Mirage without Surf. He went 18-10 in that game. He was by far their most impactful player in that 4-round stretch that Beast Coast won on defense to pull back that game. Other than, I think, the overtime rounds they obviously had to win, those 4 rounds were the most important of the whole match, and he was critical in that area. I would argue, or I've criticized Surf kind of in the past for being an extremely dependable one frag. He would get his one on the roam or on the roam clear, and then he would always get traded back. He didn't have that same problem. He was getting multiple frags throughout that last game that we saw them against Mirage. The question now is, does Surf stick around? Because sure, Beast Coast, I'm sure, would love to keep Surf on the lineup, but I think you look around the rest of the league, and if I'm Surf, maybe I'm looking for better offers. Maybe I'm looking for teams that could use my skills a little bit more than Beast Coast, who maybe, I don't know, maybe don't necessarily have that star power to keep them around. I think, obviously, there are a lot of teams right now that don't need to make changes, but if I'm a team like perhaps the guys across the stage, PB, who may need to make a change also this offseason, then Surf's kind of an appealing option.
Look, man, if we're going really hard on this, what do you do for next year for Beast Coast? The new transfer rules mean theoretically you could pick up an entirely new roster going into the next year, but that's only after SI itself is done. And considering we're not worried about relegations at all, think of Luminosity or think of Reality TV. There were a whole bunch of tier lists being thrown out over the past couple of days by people saying who are the best CL talent to pick up. There is a lot on the table. I think this game is just going to solidify what components of Beast Coast are worth keeping around for next year, because yes, they got to win. Yes, there is talent on this roster. It's just a matter of how effectively it's being utilized.
It does feel that way, and I would say to a lesser extent, but still in existence, it does feel that way for Parabellum as well. And so let's start talking about PB a little bit too. Now, PB, of course, kind of becoming famous for developing talent and then selling it to other teams. Like, when do you want to start creating a roster that wins majors?
Well, I don't know. I think the first goal is going to be survive this offseason without Blaz getting sold somewhere else.
That's going to be very difficult, I think.
Blaz has shown to be an insane addition for this roster. Parabellum right now, they're 3-5. That's not the worst kind of overall win-loss record. They're actually 6th in the league if you take their average expected player score, their EPS, which is not that bad. The problem is when you factor Blaz out of that average, they fall all the way down to 9th, only ahead of the guys across the stage, Beast Coast. Currently, it's been an amazing showing for Blaz, but I think just like Surf, you can make the question, if you're Blaz, you're not only playing for a team that isn't really finding success right now, you're also playing out of your home region.
Yeah,
you're playing, you know, for an English-speaking team when it's not your native language. I don't know what Blaz's situation is like. I don't know if he if he wants to stick around and he loves it here on Parabellum, being the star of the squad.
Put Sam in the league right now. 80? That's like the highest we've seen from any talent and probably ever will see. He's goated. Put him in the league.
Look at that. 92% accuracy, 92 speed.
That is actually pretty crazy.
Tracking, yeah.
Look at this
stellar reaction time.
I think other than tracking, he's beating everybody on all 4 categories. I don't know if anybody had a better tracking.
He should
Maybe
be.
he's beating everybody.
My tracking was my worst.
Did you? Yeah.
Now all we have to do is see if Pengu's can stand up to that. Assuming we have Pengu's numbers.
I don't know if we have.
Like eclipses that.
Either way, that's solid for Stokes. But back to Parabellum.
I think for PB, think about the things they've been doing well. Surprisingly, with 2 new guys haven't played in the system before, Blaz needing to step up in a big way, I figured their attacks would be the thing that would suffer the most. It hasn't been that. Defensively has been where they've really not been able to time their roams properly, utilize chaos to its fullest extent. It feels like on attack they have most of their formula down. They're currently 2 points above average, at least before this Playday began. And I'm not concerned for Doc or Asian's longevity on that side of the board. But then you flip the board over and you look at what they do defensively, and it simply doesn't stack up in the same way. Something about their coordination or their map selection or not being able to play roams effectively. There's something about how they play off-site that doesn't mesh the way that it needs to. And that's the kind of question I feel like you can really only answer if you're somebody inside the team that has a better understanding of what's going on. So if Parabellum do win this game, I will ask them about that in the interview, because I'm curious about what isn't really like meeting their own expectations internally right now.
All right, well, it's time to find out what map we're going to go to. The vetoes are in. So let's see.
Well, for Parabellum, they have a couple of very telegraphed bans, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see most of them. They don't like Bank, they don't like Club, they don't like Theme, which I do think puts the onus onto Beastcoast to find something that they like a little bit better. Obviously, Clubhouse, Bank, Theme, the first 3 bans for Parabellum, and for Beastcoast, they haven't had nearly as crazy of ones. I think the Cafe is the obvious one that they opt to take out second. So as we get down to the very end of it, like, do we have 2 teams that actually have maps that they both like to play? I mean, I still see Oregon on the board, which will, like, that to me makes the most sense.
Oregon Beastcoast do play, but they keep on losing, and Parabellum have some bad history on it, losing majors and losing to SQ on Oregon. They also could go Chalet, but Chalet's another one where Parabellum don't seem to play it, and Beastcoast just kind of have lost a lot on it. I think Villa would be the one that both teams would prefer. I think they both have a lot of choice, though. I don't think a Villa ban would be terrible for either of these squads. If they want to force it to Oregon or Chalet, it'll be Beastcoast the final selection, and they won't rock the boat. They'll keep it in with Villa. Beastcoast, 4 games all year on this map, all of them incredibly close. A loss to DZ, a win over Parabellum, of course, back in stage 2, and then 2 losses to Astralis in stages 2 and 3.
Yeah, there you go. So the maps are in very soon. We'll be making our predictions, but this is going to be an interesting one because it's 2 teams. I wonder how much each team really feels there is to play for. I feel like to a certain extent, this is one of those situations that you see in sports where the answer is a lot of these guys are kind of playing for their jobs, you know? Like, this is really a situation where you got to put on a good performance because you're on a bad team, you're going into an off season. That's a dangerous spot to be in.
It's a little bit different, I think, for both squads. For Beastcoast, they're playing for their jobs on Beastcoast. For Blaz, he's playing for his job anywhere else because I think he's already proven his potential is there. I think the same can also probably be said for somebody like a Kool-Aid or maybe even a Surf if it turns out Beastcoast would like to see what other options they've kind of got elsewhere. Again, I don't want to look too far ahead into the future if maybe these guys absolutely are going to keep on sticking with their same cores. We don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole and assume maybe this crazy stuff's going to happen, but Blaz theoretically could go anywhere else. I just want Parabellum to give us something to talk about that isn't Blaz and his contributions because there is so much more talent stacked on this team that just needs to get used differently.
Well, we'll see how it gets used today. For now, we have to see what the predictions are. First, of course, we'll send it to our casters. It is Blue and Stokes once again. What do you think? Is it going to be Parabellum? Is it going to be Beastcoast? Can Beastcoast get 2 in a row?
Well, as statistically the best performing commentator,
nobody asked,
all of us, I would have to say it's got to be Parabellum because if anybody does literally anything on that team that isn't Blaz, they win the game. So I'm going to pick Parabellum just based off of that.
I mean, you're the best performing commentator in AimLab stats. You're not the best performing in, predictions.
All aim, no brain, Doa. That's what they say.
I guess, yeah. It's never been better illustrated, yeah.
It's going to be the same for me. I'm also going to be going with Parabellum. This is a bit of a weird game given that, again, there's not much playoff contention to be playing for here. So I'm just going to go with the team that's been better throughout the season in my eyes, and that's going to be Parabellum in this case.
I think it's a very fair assessment. Thank you, Blue and Stokes. We'll get back to you in a moment when the game begins. Desk, agree, disagree? Seems like Parabellum is the logical way to lean. What do you think?
Yeah. I think this is just a case of which one of them is kind of the lesser of 2 evils, ultimately, just given their overall performance. There's more reliability on Parabellum's side. They've won games in regulation. I feel like this is more of a comfortable map for them if, all the pieces fall into place. And this is also a map that back in the CL days, you really wouldn't take PB to. So I'll go with the historical vote as well, PB for me.
All right.
Well, though, if there's one thing we've learned this stage is that I absolutely cannot predict in stage 3. My win percentage is literally tied with the coin. So let's just try it out, right? What? I have here
what out?
A 1996
you're doing it.
Canadian toonie. And we're gonna give it a little flip here.
Well, you didn't say which was which, though.
Heads, same rule as you.
Oh, okay.
Heads is gonna be Beastcoast. Tails is gonna be Parabellum.
All right, just checking.
And it is heads. Beastcoast on top for the game.
You did this to yourself.
I love how the
This
Canadian.
will be my comeback.
All right, this is it. Coin versus coin. America versus Canada. This is suddenly the biggest rivalry of anything. This trumps anything else we've seen today. It's going to be heads, Beastcoast, tails, Parabellum.
Please tell me it's tails. Which coin is better?
Oh, it's tails. It's tails. The American coin picks the Canadian organization.
I was gonna say, I love how the
it doesn't make a
Canadian
lot of sense,
toonie
but-
straight up betrayed its own
Yeah,
country.
it's not going for
guess, yeah.
Canada.
That's
for
brutal.
The
sure.
Canadian coin went for the American org. The American coin went for the Canadian org. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The coins have their own opinions. We'll see whose coinage is superior. Let's see what the fan vote is, too. Speaking of being superior, I mean, the fan/popularity vote has been the highest percent, 83% Parabellum, so they're very, very sure. We'll see what happens. We also have a community poll to consider going into our next map. Who will take this match less seriously, Beastcoast or Parabellum? Oh, come on.
Well, what?
Oh, come on. They're professionals.
Oh.
Why you got to do this to them? That's low. That's low, I got to say. Well, on that note, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to find out who wins the battle at the bottom of the barrel. Again, it's Parabellum, it's Beastcoast. Find out who takes it right after this.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the final day of the 2022 NAL season. It is just a few minutes away from us getting started with our fourth game here. Like we said on the analysis desk, no playoff contentions, unfortunately, for either of these teams. Just bragging rights and maybe a boost on their overall season standing. I don't even know if that's possible at this point. We'll have to see. But
Confidence, I'd say.
confidence that you're not going to use for like at least another 2 months here. But
Well, confidence to go home and tell your mom, see, I'm still doing good stuff in video games. That's really what
True.
this
There you
match is
go.
for. And if anything, it might be a matchup for Blaz's highlight reel. We really don't know. He could be on the free agent list here for this next year of Rainbow Six. We'll just have to see how it goes. But both of these stories, a pretty tragic tale, especially I'd say for Parabellum. Beastcoast, we kind of expected this, especially with the changes coming through. I don't think any of us thought that they were going to be, knocking lights out across the board. But for Parabellum, at least with how the stage started, it was some very solid results, taking some big games on border. But once teams realize that if you take Parabellum to bigger maps, they're not nearly as much of a nuisance. Teams have been getting maps over on them quite often. And we'll have to see if Beastcoast can try and recapture this same light that a lot of teams have against PB as we'll enter Villa here for the very last time for you and I this year for the NAL.
Yep, so Flores is going to be the first band to be knocked out. We have seen Flores used quite prominently, especially to more interior rooms on this map, just because it's a lot easier to knock at utility more than anything with him, especially for areas like the top of the main stairs and interior to areas like study, kitchen, even the tarps room next to that as well. Nook is the second one. Nook is too sneaky on this map and has far too many ways to access the interior of the building, so it's a big risk that a lot of teams don't want to play into. Beastcoast in this case does not want to mess with it. They knock it out. Same for Azami. As much like many of our defenders that oftentimes gets banned out, she's just too universally useful, and you could say very much the same thing about Valkyrie as well.
Yes, indeed. So I figured we'd get the Blaz spiel out of the way just immediately, because if you guys didn't know, he's been knocking heads this entire stage, and to the nth degree as well. He's actually got the highest rating out of any player in the NAL, currently at a 1.28. He's second when it comes to the KD spread, and also fourth on entry. So he's a powerhouse of fragging potential for Parabellum, but it's really up to the rest of the roster to try and capture that and put it to good use, John, because once you look at the statistics for Parabellum, you go from Blaza 1.28 with a 98 to 68 KD spread, by the way. He's going to be potentially the only person to eclipse 100 kills for this stage. It falls off a cliff. Kool-Aid is the very next player inside of this lineup, 68 and 68 with a 1.02. And obviously the remaining members of Parabellum all backing that up as well below that. So definitely not the greatest of straits for PB in comparison to some of the results that we saw earlier this year with a little bit of a different look for the roster, but more than likely can just chalk it up to growing pains. There was a lot of changes going on with this team. Yes, Blaz was playing with them in the background whilst they were still, having somebody fill his space, but past that, though, they really haven't been able to make things pay off with the additions of Doc and Asian.
We'll see what they potentially do on the inside of this matchup here today. Beastcoast, like you had mentioned, has been struggling quite a bit this stage, even more so than PB. So potential opponent they can absolutely try and knock down, but it'll still be quite difficult. There's not a lot of play for this match. Just one little final soiree to finish off the season here as they try to prove themselves one final time, and for PB's sake, maybe try to jump up towards 8th place as well, but going very slowly on this round. Neither team wanting to take the edge early on. Beastcoast, I think just now, after about 45 seconds of additional adrenaline time, is going to start to work on the repel play over here towards Study.
It really does seem like Beastcoast brought their dancing shoes, because they're tip-tap-toeing around this bomb site right now. Not too much going on. Parabellum has control on both facets of the floors right now. Control inside a piano, control on top main. There's really no entry point for Beastcoast to try and push into right now. And in fact, Beastcoast might get caught off guard by this player oddly positioned inside of Bust at the current moment. Blaz, seeing like he can get aggressive here. What in God's name, Blaz? Not aware of Anthony here on the angle for the window. He'll run directly up to it, see if he can find somebody on the master balcony, but instead he gets gunned down, and Blaz going to be starting off at a deficit.
Kool-Aid ready, or at least seemingly ready for the challenge to come out from BC, but Slash will close it down instead. Agent now looking to try and pick things up next up here for PB. Down 2 players, yet to find a trade as of yet. So Beastcoast definitely getting off to a bit of a booming start here. They will still have to work past Asian, though. He's going to be a little bit tricky to take care of just because of the amount of rotation angles he has access to. We'll need to be cautious that he doesn't step himself into one of the winning positions for Beastcoast, and he may very well do so in a second. Catches Slash off guard, but also gives him enough of time to adjust here, and is just going to fall back after the duel with Slash. Doesn't want to take a chance on it anymore. Slash did have an opportunity to engage against him again here on the red stairs, but is not going to take it. Asian is allowed to get away, and more importantly, is allowed to get back to the site.
Asian will get out here, but Beastcoast, they have so many bodies to try and handle the situation. The drone economy is really the only thing that's somewhat punishing, but they still have a logic bomb as well as an EE-1D, so those in tandem can definitely mess up majority of Parabellum's plans to try and thwart Beastcoast's offense from entering the building. Gonna be a swing in here. Actually, no, just EE-1D and the logic bomb out, but finally, Doc will back off. Fertile grasps him on the main door, and it's gonna be down to Beastcoast, hightailing it up the main stairs. He'll take down Eska, and Ferda will pick up Asian. Beastcoast the very first round.
Convincing first round as well here. Quite a few blunders made in the earlier portions of the round coming out from PB, such as their first loss where they end up going directly across someone who had an Overwatch position from Repel. And aside from that, players continue to lose themselves as we got deeper and deeper into the round itself, not leaving them with much of a hope, especially from the 3v5 perspective, to be able to work their way back into it. So Beastcoast execute, as you would expect here, without too many issues, and are able to take down the rest of the remnants of PB's defense.
Yeah, Beastcoast making sure that they're in control of the situation at all times, especially with the leadoff pick going on to Blaz. They knew that they could take their time and more than likely break up a lot of these roamers, try and isolate some players and get some big kills. So very well done from Beastcoast. Cool, calm, and collected. Nobody really overplaying their hand in any sense of the terms. So very well done from them. Now they'll launch us into round 2. Parabellum not feeling as confident in the AVG defense. Going to be going across the map to Trophy and Statuary.
10 seconds left before
And as we take a look at the repicks real quick, we are going to see something pretty interesting coming out for Beastcoast. Actually, mainly the Glaz that's been soft picked by Slash. Looks like it's going to get fully locked in as well. So we go for it there. It's going to be, at least in terms of the role, he's playing somewhat interchangeable, just the fact that he was already taking up repels and whatnot with the Mark 14 EBR and can very much do the same exact thing with the active weapon, of course, here on the Glaz as well, and still has the 2 smokes to support the actual execute with just a little bit lower on the intel utility, quite obviously, but he can make up for that with the power that he brings to the actual gunfight.
Now, here's the problem when it comes to Glaz. The reason that he's kind of a niche pick and we don't see him all that often is 2 things. Number 1, immediately when you shoot that rifle, you're known, and no one's going to be peeking smokes or anything like that. But past that as well, you're usually going to end up wanting him on something that's going to be a longer angle. His close-range fights are not that easy. I mean, you can put down the scope to try and give you a better situation when you are playing up close. But again, you're still asking for a lot here. So a Slash can surprise Parabellum. This could be some big picks going his way. Holding the cross, and it looks like he wants to try and maintain this. And this is going to be hard fought, but as I just said, as soon as this situation happens here, Slash sends shots downrange. It's the only gun in the entire game with that report. So everyone now knows that a Glaz is on the field, and Parabellum should respond accordingly.
It's also, of course, going to give probably a little bit more room for Beastcoast to play it out because PB is going to be playing it back, but that doesn't necessarily translate into an immediate success. Just means that Beastcoast need to be ready to take on challenges directly after the angles that normally we would have contestation coming out from PB on. So we're not going to see a whole lot continuing to happen. These are some very slow-played rounds so far. The 2 that we've had span out. Beastcoast taking their time, establishing presence, but not establishing a good enough support for the roam game going on down here right now. Blaz allowed to sneak in through tarps, knock out Anthony, and has a realistic chance to eliminate Zeno as well. The fight's still to come, but Asian ends up closing it down still for PB. So they bounce back hugely here at the start of round 2 and immediately take control of the round, putting it down to a 5v3.
An amazing game sense there from Zeno to kind of understand that a player could be there, but just was kind of caught off guard that Doc was indeed taking that fight, or rather Asian. But either way, Beastcoast, worse for wear now. Parabellum pulling ahead here inside of the last minute. Beastcoast looking to make a hard execute here. Going to be hard fought as well. No longer having smoke to try and close down any of these angles, making it easy for Slash to play, but the exact opposite for their opponent. What a push here from Slash. Very confident onto Doc on the shield, and this might be the opener they need, but Blaz immediately responds. He'll take him down. Beastcoast 2-4. Ferda, nice shots onto Blaz. He'll be able to win that out. Case control in no one's hands at the current moment. I do believe it's out on the balcony, so that means that they're going to need a lot more here. Ferda looking for that, but can't find it in Trophy. It's going to be a prone player, and Eska will take him down. They'll lean into it, and it's all left up to Surf, who wasn't responding to that case. He was trying to hold the counter angle there through concrete, but he gets taken down as he tries to make the rotation for Bathroom.
Beastcoast definitely with a workable position there inside of the clutch. Unfortunately, just didn't really know what to do with themselves once they got tripped up not having the case in hand. And while again, they have that Astro as well as the inside of Master Bedroom established for themselves, having to break away from that to go with the case back made them a little bit too unsure of themselves. Seems like they were in a little bit of a lack for info and how to proceed inside of the site as well. So that slowed them down far too much and gave Parabellum that final little boost of confidence they needed to shut down those last 2 players. Blaz being the real hero of the mid-round, of course, finding those 2 very important trades that stopped Beastcoast from venturing forward in what otherwise would have more likely been a swelling take from them.
All right. So, Parabellum and Beastcoast, though far 1-1. Also, apparently, Merc and everybody did their aim lab stuff in a garage and like a paper plate and a
Joke's on them.
pad.
I use a paper plate as my usual mouse
Yeah,
pad. So.
yeah, you know, I mean, and also, just to put this out there, I mean, no duh, Merc. Your guys' stats are terrible. They're all of your stats suck. You should really redo your aim labs. Because there is no way.
Sounds really bad out of context.
There's no way that I should be top 10 in the NAL, statistically speaking, for aim labs. You're all trolling. You literally play video games professionally. I talk about them, then go home and play Destiny. Like, these 2 things are not the same. It's ridiculous. Redo your stuff, man. Come on. Redo your stuff.
All right.
You're trolling.
Both teams now looking to take control over a lead, while Stokes looks to try and take control in his debate with Merc. Away from that.
I don't need to take control, John. I've already won. All right. No, but seriously, I'd love to see their actual stats. That's mostly why I'm giving him crap about it. Because, dude, Merc's reaction time should be like 100 flat. Like,
oh, yeah.
It should be inhuman. Oh, my goodness gracious. But speaking of inhuman things, we've kind of had interesting back and forth between these 2 teams thus far. I really considered that Parabellum would more than likely take a pretty easy, large lead, and the Parabellum will try and claw it back. But we haven't seen that just yet. Beastcoast actually making the most out of the situation thus far and really punishing Parabellum on a lot of fronts.
PB continuing to rely on a heavy extension, though, for the first 2 minutes or so of their play, and at the moment has a pretty aggressive pinch against Ferda, more than anyone else, as he's the only one from BC that's aligned against. This is actually going to allow for Zeno, and Zeno has one other player with him as well, to start venturing down the bookcase hallway without too much of an interruption. Blaz, of course, will interrupt that with the noise he makes from his phone here after the first call comes out from BC. Blaz, though, still stalwart in this position, does not want to give it up, and nearly has the angle when he goes for the swing against the Yana. Anthony, though, not going to be lined up appropriately, so still no damage claimed by either team with halfway of the round gone.
Logic Bomb still ringing in Doc's pocket, but it's not going to force his hand just yet. Anthony might have some good awareness of where he's positioned, especially with that second one, but no, Doc takes down Anthony Metal Gear Solid instead. The Yana not able to do enough for the situation. Zeno, he's trying to pre-fire to see if Doc will peek into something, but he's the one that's been punished. Such low HP. Doc trying against the world right now, but it's a miscalculation. Ferda will push in from the opposite angle for 90, and he also had to worry about Slash inside of Gun Vault on top of that. Parabellum picked to pieces on that end, but Beastcoast now worse for wear when it comes to their timer.
Cameras are going to be stolen as a result of that down as well, so defaults, if there are still any remaining amongst the building, are going to start to turn against PB as they rotate around. Doesn't look like we played too heavily into camera intel for the defenders anyways. There's not a whole lot to steal besides the defaults, but we'll see how this all plays out now as Beastcoast moving towards the site with a lot more confidence. Agent, of course, being that potential way to change things up from down below. He waits for a potential rotation that he could play into here to crush this top-down clear that Beastcoast are going to be going for here. Slash with the drop in, ready to move forward, but as he opens up the divide, he also opens up a potential for him to be slain out, and that's exactly what's going to end up happening. Eska takes him down through the breach. Surf tries to move in. He's dealt with quite quickly as well, but Zeno trying to save the day here now for BC.
Case.
Picks up 2 trades, now has the case in hand, but less than a second to plant it. Will be locked into that animation, and with Asian's pickup now, the only one still on the field here. Doesn't even want to let the death go by, just lets it go, and the round along with it, as we see PB take the lead now at 2-1.
Yeah, 2-1 in favor of Parabellum, able to get in front of Beastcoast and delay so much time, especially for Doc's situation over inside of AVG, picking the offense to pieces. I mean, they really didn't have an answer for it until they finally were able to wrap themselves around that entire room, having Slash come in from Vault, as well as that influence from 90 that was actually ultimately his demise. Obviously, Zeno taking a lot of heat in that regard as well, and making it to where it would be pretty easy for a Parabellum member to take him down later on, given the circumstance. So PB able to get it done off of their site setup, as well as some rotations coming back in from the likes of Blaz.
We just had a short tech pause here for like a headphone issue or something, folks, so excuse us while we hop out of game for a minute. I believe it has already been fixed, so we are getting ourselves back into it quite quickly. We're going to continue to see Parabellum will be able to try and take more control out of this matchup. Currently ahead now, 2-1 over Beastcoast, and of course returning to the default site for themselves over here in AVG.
See, if Beastcoast switched over to Dixie plates, I think that all of them would be firing on all cylinders right now, John.
Someone's going to do it.
Yeah, somebody.
I need to see it now.
I think Merc just needs to get a mouse pad that just has photos of paper plates on it.
You know, I could make him one of those.
Yeah, you could. You actually could.
I have some recent experience in that area, believe it or not.
Yeah, Merc. I mean, hey, if you want to hit him up for the major, that would be quite the meme indeed. So, but past that though, Beastcoast and Parabellum have been going back and forth here in Italy, and it's really been the PB show when it comes to a lot of different moments here. Beastcoast though, with a highlight of their own after they were able to take down Blaz in a pretty early engagement that he was caught off guard by, able to translate that into a round right off rip. So well within their right to continue trying to grasp a hold of some straws on this offensive side. Parabellum with a lot going on currently, shifting some people up red stairs. They're going to slam them back into Aviator Games, where our site is indeed going to be, as we have the rest of Parabellum extended out towards that northern side. But not too far, though, playing this a little bit close to the chest, specifically around the red stairs, as well as main. So Parabellum really just worried about this portion of the building.
Beastcoast are starting to breach through, as we can see over here inside of Astronomy. Already Zeno on the inside of it, going to open up a little bit of rotation security here for himself and the rest of his team. As Ferda is also still needing to move in, as does Anthony, so someone who's going to keep an eye on that top down, as we have seen Parabellum attempt to play into this staircase. And that is a usual rotation that is used to counter out this play from time to time as well. Won't be able to stick here forever, though, as the site take needs to happen on virtually the opposite side of the map. So they'll need to move past this sooner rather than later. We're going to start to see this now as they continue to clear forward here. Now with a lot more obstacles sitting in their way, potentially, though, as they approach the hallway. Even if they're not necessarily on this floor as of yet, you can see the potential rotate from the Red Stairs player. Then you have Asian still able to work his way around to support this as well, on top of another member also being in the hallway, 90 rotate.
EE1D out for Ferda, and this is the call to guard for Beastcoast. They'll be able to take down Eska as he swings in. A big kill from Asian, though. Nades out. Won't take out the red player, and instead Doc, I believe he pre-fires the smoke. He takes out Anthony. Beastcoast, they haven't found the kills that were most important to their push, and now they're being punished because of it.
Slash going to go for a hard rotate downstairs to see if maybe he can reposition himself towards the front stairs position and fend that off. But Doc is here now, just reascending up the very same position towards the main stairs, and he has one other player with him as well. That will not be an easy position to break. Surf, of course, will be able to support the play coming in from his teammate. That'll be wrapping back around. But even there's Overwatch established from PB on the inside of the study door. So there's just no real easy way for Beastcoast to get themselves out of this. But they're going to make an attempt for it regardless. Slash now arriving at the main stairs sees indeed that it is a bit of a trickier setup, and of course Doc, ready for this challenge, just swings right out when he hears the barricade being beaten down and eliminates Slash mid barbed wire swing. Only 2 up and running now for the attack. Ferda has been able to reach the apex here on the 90 hallway, but he's not going to be able to get much further than that. Once again, PB shut it down, taking a much more commanding lead here at 3-1.
I generally love the idea from Beastcoast there, but they had one fatal flaw, John. And the big thing is that they weren't trying to deal with the same area with a multitude of bodies. They had people trying to move up main stairs, in through study, as well as 90, all at the same time. But the big issue is that they only have 3 bodies, so everybody is off on their own island trying to accomplish their own things, and there's no way that Beastcoast can try and, get a refrag and maybe get one more and make it really close inside of that man count. Instead, Beastcoast lose every single engagement on each portion of the map that they're going for. Just very unfortunate circumstances befalling them early in the round, but I mean, they still had some chances to be able to work out that situation, especially if they get some very solid kills, but obviously not exactly what came to fruition. So Parabellum is going to be the tactical timeout, I think.
I think it's Beastcoast.
Is it? Okay, I was going to say, it was back and forth there.
Doesn't
Apologies.
make much sense for
Dude,
PB
I called out production so hard there. I'm sorry, guys. It's going to be Beastcoast for the tactical timeout as they try and slow down Parabellum from getting too far ahead.
It has already pretty much expired, though, so we're heading back in game, and now Beastcoast has had their moment to figure out what exactly has gone wrong, and more importantly, how they need to fix it. So time for PB, of course, to see what they as well were able to take from that timeout and see how they can apply to potentially counter out what Beastcoast are going to be looking to do on this upcoming round right here.
We can't be bringing Dokkaebi and Lion and have this huge lack of team play. I think that's the big thing. You have to be able to confidently take control of key portions of the map with that utility, and Beastcoast aren't exactly doing the greatest job of that at the current moment. Parabellum is able to get around them a lot of the times, and it's mostly due to the fact that Beastcoast, perfect instance, right, in that last round, they're holding pretty soft angles. They smoke off things, try to make that push for 90, and Doc's just allowed to exist on red. Nobody pushes him out, continually not pushing him out, and finally he steps up, pre-fires the smoke, and takes out one of their players, whilst one of the Beastcoast members is, I believe, right inside of bench holding the cross to make sure nobody comes up the stairwell. So you kind of need everything to happen all at once. You really want to take that whole portion of the map, or, I mean, it could be as simply as something as Beastcoast didn't know that Doc was going to be positioned on red, but also then you'd have to call that into question. It's one of those key areas that you're looking into when you're taking the site. You just didn't know somebody was playing the stairwell?
Definitely not the way you want things to pan out, rather, but either way, for Beastcoast, they need to make their improvements here and now if they want to try and improve their placement inside of the league here. 1-7 so far in this stage. Going to try and make it 2-7 if they can claim this matchup. Even then, though, I don't believe it would allow them to pass PB since they have 3 wins on the record. Unless all 3 of those were an overtime win, I don't believe there's going to be any way for Beastcoast to actually get past Parabellum, so they should be locked in for 10th place regardless. Stokes or someone else in production can correct me on that if I am wrong. But
I was checking over my notes real quick. What was the question again?
Just seeing if there was any way for Beastcoast to pass Parabellum and at least like switch their final placings in the league. So maybe there's something in that department to play from. But yeah, as I was explaining in rush detail there, I don't think it's actually possible. So.
Well, very quick rush stats before somebody dies. Beastcoast currently -29 for the round count and 3 points. Parabellum -7, 8 points.
Yeah,
I'll let you do that mental math. Yeah. So there you go. Beastcoast, well within their right to do literally nothing. They pulled the cord on the Magic Conch, John, and it said nothing. That's what it said. So Beastcoast, you get nothing, you lose. Good day, sir. But you still have an opportunity to try and befuddle Parabellum's last match of the entire stage, what they're doing a pretty bang-up job of thus far. Doc's going to go down to Ferda, who's actually having a pretty stellar game. He has not had the greatest of stages, but he's bringing it back now.
Anthony with the big swing and a lot of ammo expended, but he gets the job done, or at least halfway. Kool-Aid is down. The problem is, though, it's Blaz that runs up through Astro Stairs and steals away Xeno in the process. So something may be gained here for Beastcoast, but at the same time, they lose quite a bit in the fact they're not able to exchange it out. Anthony, though, continues to excel on the entry game as he now finds Eska and full access to Trophy along with it. But this is not where the case is positioned at. It's on the other side of the map here, only supporting their push at this point, and ultimately, Anthony will lose his advantage here. Case goes down, though, inside of the smoke. Asian not able to successfully detect it in the process of its plant. He has full intel on at least one of the players, but just impacts here. No way to force it out. Blaz, though, walking up. The butt of one of the players will be revealed. Surf is able to maintain, however, and now puts it all down to a 1v2, which Ferda will close out on for Beastcoast.
Ferda with the angles on this round. I believe it's a triple for him there. Very nice stuff. And, I mean, this is a very, very big game for Ferda thus far. You know, obviously they're still down around with the potential to tie things up here. But for Ferda, I mean, 15 and 34 on the stage, -5 when it comes to his entry spread. And I think the biggest thing here, something I always love to look into when it comes to teams and just how things are kind of panning out for them for a stage is survival rating, John. I always think it's a big telltale sign of how rounds are going, especially when it comes to those late rounds. Because you can see who's kind of getting bowled over, right? Or just how their rounds end up ending. Perfect example, right? Astralis' survival rate across the board, the highest being 28%, right? They end a lot of things inside of cannon fodder. They do. We all know that about Astralis. They really like their gunfights. You look over at Beastcoast, though, and when it comes to Beastcoast's survival rate, the highest is 21%. That is almost 1/5 of the rounds that somebody actually ends up surviving. So that right there kind of tells you exactly what you want to know about Beastcoast, and that it comes down to a lot of the other team just simply out-fragging them, taking them down, and having a pretty easy job of doing it. Again, the highest percentage for Beastcoast for survival rate being 21%, and that's actually on Ferda. The other 21%, that's Mark, and he only played 4 games.
So with those unfortunate stats from Stokes.
I mean, Beastcoast is an unfortunate team right now, man. I'm trying my best.
No,
I promise.
It's the tough part.
Listen here, Beastcoast staff. I promise. I'm reading the stats. We're not going too far off kilter here, okay?
We are into the last round of the half, however. Parabellum with the lead, but only by 1 round. Beastcoast has already been able to surprise, of course, on the 2 that they have won. No reason why they wouldn't be able to pull out a potential 3rd here and leave us dead even going into the second half. Blaz ready to make a play. In the meanwhile, he is right by this doorway. He's expecting someone to come from his right side first, and he's not entirely wrong on that, but this is too easy. Just walk right out. Anthony's still on the cams. That's an easy snipe. They're not even going to attempt to follow that up from the looks of things. They'll have the Overwatch established up here and study to try and catch him if he goes across bookcase, but once again, Blaz, too smart for this. Will wait it out. The timing just perfect as he waits for an unscope on the player that had established the Overwatch from study as well, and just sneaks right by.
Well, Blaz in pseudo hot water at the current moment with the logic bomb taped to his butt, but really nothing happening with it. Blaz is going to get tagged up a bit. Oh my, he's going to be able to take the fight. I am literally terrified for Beastcoast. I'm not even scared for Blaz. Is that weird to say? I think it is weird to say, but I feel like Blaz is somehow still going to get a kill here. Stuns in. He should be dead. There we go. He's going to eat up half the clock, and they still got Anthony. So, I mean, technically speaking, Parabellum's still in the lead for this round.
Yeah, minute and 30 off the clock and a 1-for-1 that absolutely favors the defenders in this situation here, considering the fact as well that we're so far away from from Beastcoast being in an executable position. They still need, in my opinion, at least another 30 seconds, realistically more, to set themselves up for a take now.
I will say this, though. What was my big gripe with them a couple rounds ago? They weren't playing together as a team and accomplishing tasks. That's what we just saw. 3 people to handle Blaz. That's what you want to see. You want to see them hold those counter angles, make it so hard for Blaz to try and fight out of that situation, because somebody with this amount of talent, you have to give that much respect. You do not want to give him a one-on-one, because he's going to kill that person and continue on keeping on. So, big stuff happening here for Beast Coast, but that doesn't mean that they can get this round done. Very low on timer now, so Skeleton Key open the top floor and see what they can potentially find for themselves down low.
Zeno coming dangerously close to a lineup here, and all these top downs he's been trying to establish for himself as well. But Surf ultimately becomes the player to find it.
Wow.
Surf as well, walking himself into another pickup right there. Almost takes his teammate's head off a second later, though. Thankfully, that doesn't happen. Asian, though, will be able to exchange back, keep some hopes alive for PB, but it seems like PB have been bested on this take. Wild swing from Doc, and it nearly takes the head off of at least one member from BC. Unsuccessful ultimately, though. It just leaves Asian inside of a 1v3 exchange now. He's going to try to play the drop down, but is not even expecting the position from Slash to be watching his angle. So it is an outright win for Beast Coast, and one that they absolutely would have wanted here, closing out the half, leaving them in a much better position both in terms of the scoreboard at 3-3, and I would imagine mentally to some aspect as well. Finally putting these rounds together, having things hit their running, it's going to feel good moving on to the defensive half where that pressure is going to be lifted from them now.
Kool-Aid apparently can't say what he wants, otherwise he'll be fined. So
Say it, man.
Yeah, just say it. Just say it. Just say it. He's probably just pulling a Marshawn Lynch, though. I'm here, so I won't be fined. I'm just here, so I won't be fined. But either way, Beast Coast with a very solid start to this game up against Parabellum. I don't think they're exactly in the same boat. If it was the same boat, it'd probably be a cruise ship, because one of them's sitting very high in their room in comparison to the other one that's currently working down low in the engine bay. But either way, I'd say that Beast Coast has actually started to come together as a squad, and not only that, but Ferda with a heck of a game on his hands. 7-3-1, the best showing from Ferda that we've seen since he entered the NAL.
Right, so PB, their first showing on the attacking side. What are they going to bring to the fold? Well, nothing too surprising here. It's very similar to what we saw out of Beast Coast just in the previous half, with the main emphasis of intel gathering being there on Eska for the Dokkaebi. And then we have the usual spread of attacking operators. Ace, of course, for the hard breach. What little of it will be required on this site attack. Asian with the comfort pick over towards the Twitch. Kool-Aid as well. We're likely going to be taking up a little bit more of a front-running role here by going over to the Yana and bringing the drones into the fold. And then, as usual, we still need a sledge. This is Villa after all, so Doc's going to take up the mantle on that one.
Yeah, and that's usually where we're going to see the Dokkaebi worked in as well. You're going to see a lot of info ops when it comes to this map, because there's so much stuff for people to clear. I mean, we just got off of Villa with the last match as well, and we saw a lot of that happening with the Jackal, Lion, Dokkaebi lineups to try and counteract people like Iconic, who really like to be on those extended roams even later on into the round and really try and thwart the plans of the offense. You know, always keeping them guessing.
Fortunate.
Oh, Doc, this is going to be really bad. Back and forth, but oh, he almost gets it. Slash, almost meaning his demise, but Doc cannot get a bullet out of the L85 fast enough to meet his maker. Slash able to take him down and send him right there instead. Kool-Aid be able to at least get one onto Zeno. So back and forth we go. Even man count here is Kool-Aid at least able to negotiate for that kill.
Doc, a bit unfortunate what ends up happening.
Blaz is in sight, John.
Yep.
He's here.
Blaz in that position now, going to be... We've seen this before, is the thing. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be able to do anything with it yet, is the question. Still waiting on his teammates to regroup with him, and they don't feel the confidence to move forward. But Blaz, he's killing them regardless. Kool-Aid has picked up a second frag now to support this position. Blaz is literally deep corner on the site, ready to take another fight. Anthony tries to challenge him, and they ultimately end up on even terms from that, both losing just over half of their HP. Anthony will block off the rotates, attempting to come in from the top side of the map by Toxic Babying out the trophy rotation. Surf with Overwatch on this as well, is hoping to catch at least a few players out the hallway, where they're assuming the plant is going to go down, but Kool-Aid with an angle through the wall denies any potential replay here from Surf, and Anthony will not be too long for this world either after he loses his teammate. It's a shutdown from PB, and they take back the control at the start of the second half.
See, I was a little worried when we ended up switching sides that this is what we were going to end up seeing, is that Parabellum, given the fact that they are offense, they're able to control the pacing of the game a lot more, and Beast Coast don't have an answer for it. They don't really have a good read as to what Parabellum's initial entries are going to be. Not entries in the likes of kills, but entry points as into, you know, what portions of the map are they going to go for? How are they going to try and contest things? And it's been super difficult, especially throughout the majority of that round, for Beast Coast to try and make that out. They were constantly getting caught off guard by Parabellum. You know, they're able to at least negotiate for that first kill, but then immediately Kool-Aid picks up Ferda. So it's just equalized anyways, and now you have a pretty even ball game, mostly trending in Parabellum's favor, just given the circumstances of how they've been on their offenses, and that just another showcasing of what they can do as a squad. If you give them an inch, they're going to try and take a mile.
10 seconds left before...
A few repicks coming in. Most interestingly for Kool-Aid, of course, he's going to be working over to the Montaigne, so fully capitalizing. Oh, never mind, that's going to be ditched. So back over to the Ace for him. Enough about that discussion point. We are going to see the Nomad moving in, though, just to try and limit the amount of play we're going to have, especially on like the upstairs hallways and the usual rotation points. Parabellum want to be able to focus on the OBJ a little bit more, and obviously having the Nomad air jabs in the way of any of that play potential from Beastcoast is certainly going to limit how aggressive they will try to play this one out. Aside from that, though, no real surprises for the attacking repicks here.
No, not at all. This is a standard Villa lineup if I have ever seen one. We'll usually see Nomad switched out for something that's got a little bit more info in it, like Doke Lion or Jackal, and we've been having that here today, but Parabellum are going to go back to the boneworks of what Villa is, which is a very large map that you're looking to get a foothold on, trying to establish some ground and deny the rotations whilst you're getting your execution set up, and then obviously trying to get that to go off. And that's why we see Parabellum with this lineup. It's got everything that you could potentially need to take a site like this, frag grenades and everything else in between. Beastcoast trying to stand tall here and await Parabellum's presence as they've wrapped themselves around the entirety of the north side of the building, but as you can see, it's all window play as of now, trying to get these drones in and understand Beastcoast's brain a little bit more, see how it ticks before they hop to and see if they can get their opening blood.
Relatively quiet round, all things considered. Parabellum has been keen on trying to take earlier fights in previous rounds, or at least the one we did play out, but this time going to be a little bit more passé in terms of how they try to approach this one. Continuing to sit back, waiting for a potential cross to come out from Beastcoast, whether it's going to be downstairs on the first floor or in the actual site setup, and Asian will be gifted with that cross, finally. As he gets Surf moving past him just on the outskirts of Tarps here. The nade lineup as well to follow it through. Beautifully played by Asian as he goes 2 for 2 here in the first 2 minutes of play.
Absolute clarity from Parabellum. Drone game working out very swimmingly for them inside of the opening minutes, and now it's paying off in massive dividends. Anthony with a lot of heat onto him, and more than likely knocking on death's door. He'll go down. I believe that was from Kool-Aid flooding inside. Potential for a flawless round, but Ferda will nip that in the bud. Doc will go down on the outside of Boar window, but that's more than likely still a PB round. Ferda with so much to do here. This would definitely be the highlight of his Siege career if he was able to get it done, but Asian will be able to shut that down. No chances, no hope for Beastcoast as PB take 2 rounds back-to-back.
PB with just a very slow, cool, calm, and collected attack for themselves, especially with the way that they are able to take control of the downstairs Tarps, followed up immediately with a second kill. Being realistic, there's not a whole lot of hope, unfortunately, for BC to play that out at that point unless they have one player go huge, which obviously we just didn't really see that happen. So it's pretty straightforward to execute once again for the Parabellum squad from that point forward.
You could absolutely tell that Beastcoast had no idea what Parabellum was doing with that round at all. The timer was starting to dwindle. Beastcoast was looking for answers, especially with Surf trying to rotate through the mid-floor. He was just seeing if really there was anybody around there, he could hear anything, do much. But the big problem is that he wasn't prepared for somebody to already be there. He gets completely caught off guard by the Parabellum member inside of Bike, and then Doc is just allowed to nade off a player upstairs, and now the entirety of the site is practically open and free to the taking as long as you have enough bodies stacked on top of each other to try and take a fight. So, I mean, given the circumstances, I mean, for Beastcoast, it's just a really, really awkward one for them. You don't really want to see them try and extend out and just go soul searching for Parabellum there, because that's the exact results you're more than likely going to get. You know, you're going to end up running into either somebody holding a flank or an angle that you're not exactly ready for, and you'll just give a body over to the offense.
A few change-ups end up happening once again for PB, but they're not going to end up being that dramatic once just a player switch, and for the most part, we're just switching off of that Nomad that we were using in the previous round. I was going to put Asian back on Twitch. He's going to get that nice little promotion for himself. He's 10-3 right now, and he's really been feeling it so far in the 2 rounds we've played on attack. They're going to give him really the winning gun here and see if he can make some magic happen with it to solidify what will be potentially a 6th round coming in from PB if all goes well.
Yeah, and you got to be happy for Asian as well. Currently 10-3. Hadn't had the greatest of stages just -10 for his KD, spread -2 on his entry. But this might be the game to push him back into the positive. If he can stay alive here and get some considerable kills, then we might end up seeing him eclipse his death counter and actually end up positive at the end of his very first stage in the NAL. Parabellum are going to have those logic bombs from Eska. The first one will go out here, but they're not going to find too much with it. But that doesn't really mean all that much at the end of the day, because they can still just know things are clear based off of the logic bomb not being heard. So they know the basement's clear. They know some other portions of the map is clear. And it's just a very efficient way of pushing your way through a big map like this. But they are going to go directly over the top of something. Blaz, I believe, trying to go for a very similar positioning here for potentially the study door. And he gets caught off guard by Slash, will gun him down. Surf will follow suit, and Doc will die as well.
PB is dropping off the map right now. 2 players down, and they're 2 relatively important ones as well. Blaz, who has been the initiator for quite a few of these. Kool-Aid gives himself away, and he has close contention nearby working against him here. Asian, though, lines up the shot to be able to take down Surf instead as he tries to rotate further back into Library. Catches that, starts to put things back into a more palatable position for Parabellum. But they still look to try and win out this round and set up the second to last one they need on this game.
Well, got a frag grenade, smokes out for Anthony. No more of those left, and the good news is that he's got one my discs as well. But if they approach close enough, they can get out of the radius of that disc and still get the nade out. Instead, they'll try and use it on the top floor. Slash is on the opposite angle, though, and he gets a big kill onto Asian. Now down to a 2 versus 4. 40 seconds remain. Kool-Aid with a heck of a kill, and have they given up main stairs control? They did give it up. So now Eska, as well as his teammate, are able to take control of Bookshelf. Can't get the bulletproof just yet. Inferno waiting on the swing. Does he have the answer? He's got the pre-fire at a minimum, but nobody home.
Brings us down here into the final 25 seconds. East Coast still in control of this scenario here, but a little uncertain of where Kool-Aid and Eska are going to end up striking next. They've lost the intelligence advantage that they seem to have over the last minute or so, but as they move in, finally they're going to get it back a little bit. One of those Malusi Banshees revealing itself. Still no counteraction coming out, though, from the defenders. They're maintaining their exterior door position. That is going to allow for Eska to carve back in. 2 kills are claimed. Anthony now needs to clutch.
He's behind the door.
He has no access to the planter due to the gunfall being there. And Eska, with one final shot, closes it down. And that's going to lock in round number 6. Coming in for PB.
Oh man, Eska, I mean, that's a pretty good question. I don't know if we have any liberators in the audience, but that was what are you guys doing? Wow. Beastcoast, I mean, they had every right to be able to take that round, John. They had so many bodies to try and manage these doors, but the timing, and also giving up the space to Parabellum for planes. Nobody is managing any of those doors. Everybody's trying to kind of play for themselves off on the 4 corners of this site, and it just allows Parabellum to make the play. That's all Parabellum was looking for. They're like, well, we can't really try and plan it. It's a 2 versus 4. I guess we have to try and kill people. And Beastcoast is like, I mean, yeah, dude, kill people? That's super cool. Just come right in. I mean, hey, you know, beer's in the fridge. It's just crazy circumstances befalling Beastcoast there. Definitely not how I thought that round was going to break down, but I mean, definitely some crazy circumstances befalling them. And now Beastcoast trying to change things up. They're going to go to living room and see if they can finally find themselves a successful defense.
I think the moment it really changed up for me was when we saw the player at death's door hear the Banshee opening up on the inside and then chose not to act on that. Allowed that player to go all the way into Gun Vault. That's where that round really turned around for me, because at that point, my assumption for Beastcoast comms at that point is maybe they were thinking that second player was going to come in from a different part of the map, and that maybe that player going into Gun Vault would have been left kind of on their own, allowing for him to come in for a quick closeout. Obviously, bad informational play, though, as that second player coming in from study just shuts him down outright, and that's what really activates the clutchability of that round, was the first kill against the Death's Door player.
Yeah, it was just a really bad decision there from Zeno, because you're more than likely going to have that study player there, especially when you play one of the soft panels, right? Because that's going to make it to where you have angles across the entirety of games, and some angles into planes as well, including the plane vault, so why wouldn't I just play inside of study and try and hold those crosses? So just terrible decision-making there on the tail end, but either way, Parabellum going to get it with the lead-off pick again, and it's from the ace of all people,
in the
Doc,
basement, too.
Getting some blood on his hands, and it happens to be Slashes.
Nicely done, as that is going to eliminate the Malusi from play. In terms of utility loss, not the end of the world here for Beastcoast, but we've already seen in the past rounds they've struggled a little bit to maintain their presence after going down to a disadvantage. So this is certainly going to hurt their potential capability to still win out this round and still, of course, send us to overtime if that is required at all. Doc, ready to move up the staircase now after claiming that initial kill, but definitely a little bit curious about what Beastcoast may have prepared on the other side. Thankfully, I don't believe he's got a whole lot to worry about, at least the top right. I'll correct myself, actually. We do have Surf set up here, and he's not the only one. Anthony also playing another flight up here, trying to stop what would be a crunch on this position.
Yes, indeed. Beastcoast trying to fight fire with fire, and it's going to work this time around. Esco go down Zeno, looking for even more. A Parabellum player in 90. Blaz with 1. Blaz almost with 2. By the hair on his chinny chin chin, Zeno will make it out alive, and 2 other players will be bodied instead. Surf with 1. 3 versus 2 here, and somehow Beastcoast has stayed alive! Surf, he turns on a dime! Blaz and Doc are both bodied! Kool-Aid, he's found the gap, but oh my god! Zeno gets it! Surf, he prevents Parabellum from taking the game, and Beastcoast stave off the last game ending here for them in the, last stage of the year.
Nicely played by Surf. Blaz as well, going to give her the respect, and why wouldn't you in this situation? I think we're actually going to see it right here on the replay real quickly. I think Surf just moving a little bit too fast on the crouch game there for Blaz to be able to keep up with him. An uncharacteristic whiff from Blaz potentially costs PB the entry, and is now going to let Beastcoast come back into it. They still need 2 more rounds, though, and that's just to trigger overtime, so PB is still very much in control of the matchup at this point.
Wow, what a play from Surf there as well. I mean, that's nothing but just reaction. That's all it is. I mean, that is brain go burr. I just have to do this. And what a way. I mean, the reaction time there truly incredible from Surf. So Beastcoast able to stay inside of this one and give Parabellum a little bit more trouble before we head off onto the last game of the day.
Well, see if they can make it double trouble in a second here, as Beastcoast are, of course, going to be looking to control...
Jesse James.
Yeah. You all know what I meant. So we'll see if they can control things here on their extension. Of course, we are going to see quite a bit of a reinforcement position down here on the inside of AVG. This is mainly a time-wasting mechanism, and they'll be doubling down on the time-wasting mechanism as well. Zeno is also going to bring the Cade into the fold here. 1 Electric Claw has already been used, of course, to block off the triple wall inside of Statuary. I'm imagining that second one went down somewhere around here, and there it is to block off access to the study wall, just to hopefully extend the play in this part of the map for a few extra seconds.
Beastcoast are looking to do the most with this timer, trying to dwindle it down as much as humanly possible whilst punishing Parabellum's entry game, but we know how hard that's going to be based off of Kool-Aid and this Monty. He'll get so much information for practically free. They do have Legion in play, but that doesn't mean that Surf has any goo mines around the area to try and help prevent him from just pushing directly into their defensive setup inside of AVG. Surf is actually going to be positioned at the bottom of main stairs. Now, this is actually going to be a good way to try and answer this. It just is really up to how Parabellum holds on to this portion of the building. If they don't try and manage the stairwell, then they could run into a lot of problems. Ferda almost losing his head there. You heard Kool-Aid slide the shield as he sprinted in towards Vault. And you always got to be worried about that. He's not going to be able to take down Doc. And now this is a pretty hairy situation for Kool-Aid. He's got that soft wall here. That's why he's going to position inside of Gun Vault. Blaz is going to go down as well. The Monty is not working out. Finally, Asian will be able to take down 1. The wall is going to explode. Monty taking a little bit of damage, but he can't get the kill. It'll be Asian instead. They've got the 3 versus 3 now, with Eska trying to keep the back door locked up. And they've been able to at least manage to equalize this.
So if they get out of that all right-ish for Parabellum at the end of the day. Definitely a bit messier than I think they intended for that to go, but at the end of it, they still have just over a minute to play out the actual site, and they've cleared out the extended game in its entirety. No one from Beastcoast successfully making it back to the site, so it's all on the anchor game now of Anthony, Slash, as well as Surf to once again save the lives of this team as they begin to work their way in. Bigger disadvantage will come in the form of the fact that the Montaigne is one of the 3 from Parabellum to survive this, so while it may help on the immediate push, once we get to the clutch after the plant has been put down, that's when things are going to become a little bit potentially problematic here for Kool-Aid and how he can actually support the team in the gunfight that's still yet to come.
Yes, indeed. Well, Parabellum, they found the positioning. Just need area to put this plant down. Where will Kool-Aid make that decision, though? I don't believe he'll be going for that middle statue. Instead, more than likely favoring this side and is trying to get it held up on a door. But now they've lost their counter angle. This is a huge deal here because obviously Kool-Aid has to put this plant down. And that means that Asian has to try and manage 2 separate angles all at the same time. They're going to try and push in the back door here and influence some of this positioning. Slash with a big kill, and Anthony will take down Kool-Aid. What a round from Beastcoast. Still able to manage what is a mountainous object impact in the likes of Monty, even inside of the 3 versus 3, and they once again stave off Parabellum.
Parabellum wanting to rely very heavily on that Montaigne as a distraction for the rest of their clear to work its way forward and take out, obviously, initially the extended game, but then throughout the actual site push, the rest of the players in those positions as well. But it just didn't really work, unfortunately, at the end of the day. Remember, players on Beastcoast really had their wits about them and was constantly keeping Overwatch to the positions that the other members of PB would be using to try and take them out. And as such, well, yes, it was an annoying little fly in the midst of their setup there. The Montaigne, unfortunately, didn't really do much to stem the tide of what would have otherwise been a successful round coming in from Beastcoast.
All right, well, just a little interesting stat point here for you folks at home about Parabellum. We've all been talking up Blaz a lot this stage, especially with a lot of his results, and how the rest of the team really hasn't been able to build up around him in any considerable way. They're currently sitting at second to last in the league. And, well, looking through the stats, though, I can say this about Blaz. He's actually the, officially, only player this entire stage to eclipse 100 kills. He only needed 2 kills in order to do that. He's got 8 inside of this game, so currently sitting at 106 kills, I do believe. So that is pretty incredible stuff. If you folks don't remember, Newers was actually the one to do it, I believe, last stage and the stage prior. I believe he set the kill record last stage, though, if I do remember correctly. So pretty crazy stuff happening the entirety of 2022.
Few more repicks showing up here for PB on what is going to be the final round of regulation. Beastcoast, of course, have returned now over towards AVG to try to close this one out. Zeno is also going to bring those welcome mats out, trying to see if they can trip up PB. Very much the same way that we were having, at least in our last matchup. PB's repicks, though, are not really earth-shattering, as you guys can see. It's something we haven't seen before on the right side of your screen. It's nothing really that Beastcoast will realistically have to worry about, except for those phone calls. But that's been a present threat throughout most of the half, so they should be very well aware how to play around that by this point.
Frost, the master of the bell curve, as she is great against low-tier players and extremely high-tier players. The middle don't really have that much of a problem with it. You usually check their feet before they hop in a window, but I swear, right when you hit Plat 1 and you start just breathing on Diamond, that goes out the window. And the big thing is that really nobody plays Frost, right? It's not that, big highlight character that we're usually looking for. The reason that professional teams have found a lot of usefulness for her is because of the fact that any site that requires a lot of window player, where people are going to be hopping in on windows for entry points, it gives this very awkward 50-50. You either look at your feet and hope that you get the welcome mat, or if somebody's managing the window, they just kill you when you do that. So kind of an awkward situation there that you're presented whenever Frost is on the field, and that's why we see a lot of high-end players just kind of look for the fight and not really for the Frost mat. So we'll see if this is going to befall Parabellum here. Nothing too much happening across the board, rather. It's going to be a logic bomb now, but not too much happening from that either. Beastcoast, they're on the 4 corners of the earth right now, spread like ash, as they'll be downstairs with 3 on site. Parabellum haven't been able to find a singular soul just yet. I mean, the extensions here are pretty big from BC.
This indeed does have a lot of potential to play out and really stop in its foot tracks any of the momentum that's being made by Parabellum. But at the same time, a little over halfway through the round now, Beastcoast, so they are going to strike from these positions. They need to try and wait for an opportunity to do so here relatively soon. As PB's going to start to lock themselves in, that means things like Overwatch positions are going to start to be established. That means that these flanks will potentially have a lower degree of success as they work their way forward. Beastcoast, though, starts it out well, or I should say Zeno does, with 2 picks from the inside of Death's Door. Kool-Aid, as well as Doc, both now down. No follow-up to that from anyone else. Study Door is not going to be able to push because the other push from Death's Door ended up being a failure, and the same can very much be said if they had any intentions over here by 90. It's looking like Blaz is going to at least find a moderate degree of success in clearing out the downstairs hold, but it's irrelevant to the rest of the site clear going on right now. And Bird Up, as we can see, will lean right out for an easy trade, taking him down. Eska did pick up an additional kill, but so did Zeno. Eska, though, keeping the hopes alive as he snipes out Furnace position, leaving just Zeno and Anthony in the exchange now.
Oh, he's got the ping.
He's trying to see if he can find a foot.
Frost is here. Oh, but he's playing it perfectly. All the damage onto Zeno. Zeno's dead. He tried to escape, John. I don't think that was the move, but it doesn't really matter. He needs to take the fight here, John. That's what we need. 10 seconds remaining. Is he going to use the EBR here? He is. Oh, Anthony will be able to get it. Eska, he just didn't know what decision should be made there. And now Beastcoast, they're able to force overtime.
So overtime we go for the game. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a lot of playoff contentions today, and never mind the NAL contentions. But it's still making for a good game at the end of the day. Beastcoast refusing to give up, even on their very last game. They tie it up now at 6-6. And PB is going to try and move forward here now to see if they can still close out on this upcoming game. What's up? I think you got some news.
Oh
right
yeah, we got some news
I
already.
heard you talking to production.
I don't want to
a second
tell
ago.
you. You're gonna have to get it out of me, John. $5 right now. $5. Get your wallet out. Come on.
I don't carry cash.
I know you're rich, esports commentator. Come on.
I literally have a wallet without a cash slot.
He actually does. He just showed me.
Just has business cards.
How Gen? What are we on now? Z or whatever of you? I don't know. But either way, the important news that we have just been made aware of is that Dark Zero and Xset are now officially attending the 6th Invitational of 2023. That is the news. We had to build it up there just for a little bit. I had to delay it just so you guys were like, come on, Stokes, say something. Yeah, DZ and Xset now both officially going to 6th Invitational because of this matchup. So incredible stuff, especially for DZ in the circumstances that have kind of befalled them at the end of the year. They started off the year fantastic, winning a major. Canadian lifts another trophy, the 3rd time that he's ever won a major. And then things kind of fall off a cliff. Dark Zero not looking great during stage 2, and then Hyper obviously stepping out here for stage 3 after I believe the first week, and then Skies of all people coming out of retirement to try and bail them out, and it's actually worked quite well. In fact, I do believe, and yes indeed, I got it right here, John, Skies is still the highest rated player on all of Dark Zero. So what a way to go out.
Absolutely.
Out with a bang.
A tremendous year for them, and they're looking to see if they can add one more chip to their trophy closet if they can take control of the final major of the year. As well as Stokes has mentioned, both teams in our next matchup now qualified already. So that as well will, for the most part, just be a fun little dance between the two of them, same as this matchup here right now, where we've got 3 more rounds still to be played out. So let's focus back in on the current game. If you are just joining us, obviously it's BC versus Parabellum in the middle of Villa. These are the 2 bottom of the league teams looking to slug it out one final time. You may note they are 9th through 10th position. There is no way at this point they'll give the score difference between the 2 of them for Beastcoast to pass their opponent here. So we're going to see Slash come very close to an elimination here down below, and Doc continues to chase the angle. Won't be found though. In fact, it's going to be Anthony that wins out the first kill, and Slash striking back when Doc tries to open things up for another view. He'll regret it as immediately there's a bullet sent right back to his head by Slash.
The tailcoats of Slash dashing across the entirety of living room, but somehow
You missed the gun save.
You know what? We won't talk about it. Skeleton Key will get it done. Asian will pick up Slash. It's a 3 versus 3. This could go either way. If Beastcoast is able to win this in overtime, John, this will be their 2nd win of the entirety of this stage. Pretty big stuff for them, honestly, when it comes down to it. This team been going through a lot this year, and everybody honestly just preying on their downfall in a lot of different ways. So you got to really feel for Beastcoast, but they've been able to at least show up today and show exactly why these guys are professional gamers. They can get things done when it comes down to it. So we'll see if they can get it done when it comes to this 2 versus 3 in OT. Ferda with a pretty nice angle here, and I believe that is his nitro cell taped to the ceiling as well. So the potential to try and manage that angle through 2 different avenues. Asian's going to continue to break up this flooring. They're trying to make it super difficult for any of the Beast Coast members to play around things like Tetris and other circumstances. Kool-Aid's already made his way to the bottom of Laundry. They'll be able to get rid of one of the Banshees that was holding him back on that door, but he's going to give himself up to Surf immediately. Peeks out wide and dies because of it. Surf going to re-challenge in, but this time are very low for Parabellum. They have to get this case and get inside, but Ferda's got the angles. Parabellum, they've been decimated. They're not keeping track of where these remaining bodies are, and Beast Coast pull ahead in overtime.
And so Beastcoast now, just 1 more round to go. Have that potential to upset one final time here at the tail end of the season, not just the stage here. They're going on a bit of a lengthy break after this one. Same can be said for Parabellum as well. We still have potential for SI quals to come up, of course, in a few months, but if those, for some reason, do not end up happening, then obviously we'll be seeing both of these teams potentially in new form. We'll have to wait and see, of course, next year when the league starts up again.
Yeah, absolutely. Beast Coast with some very big plays inside of the opener for that. Not something that we exactly have grown to know from Beast Coast with their entry. Is actually a lot of the time their entry is going the way of the opposing squad. Hold on one second here. My iPad is deciding to break itself, so I'll get those stats here for you in just one moment. But, where are we at here? We got it now. Beastcoast's entry stats. They've actually got Surf and Anthony both at positive ratios. A +3 for Surf and a +5 for Anthony. 13 and 10 on Surf and 9 and 4 on Anthony, but everybody else dwindling in numbers. And the biggest proprietor of this, John, is actually Slashug. 9 and 13 on his entry. So a lot of duels, but losing a decent chunk of them.
All right, well, let's get into it for this round now and see if Beastcoast can close out on that one final round they need to pick up for themselves here. As we continue to wait and see what exactly the opening clear is going to be. So again, is just going to be a slow roll as we've had in the past. A bit of a tricky one this time too, because PB have gone for the kitchen setup, so they obviously have to work out the extension upstairs directly above the site and then come up with a winning plan to be able to take things down on the actual site floor itself too. So looking like it is going to be a slow rolling play for these guys as they continue to move forward.
Yes, indeed. Beast Coast with a chance to close this down in 8-6 fashion. Parabellum, these defenses have not been all that great. It's been back and forth either way you cut it. For either one of these teams, honestly, it's a little bit closer than I think any of us really thought it was going to be. I really saw Parabellum taking this inside of regulation, but yet we're here. We're on the doorstep of Beast Coast, taking this in overtime in a pretty considerable way, especially for that last round, how they fought things out on the roam and were able to really take it to Parabellum's offense, even though they were trying to play things completely correctly down from the top floor, using some of those abusable angles for living room like we might just see up against Asian, but still being taken down on those highlight moments.
Anthony continues to look for a path to clear out the setup from PB, mainly from Blaz, of course, but I don't believe he's going to be alone from this position. Should have some form of support, even if that's just going to be the simple fallback to the hatch down below him. We'll wait and see what exactly that's going to be in a moment. Phone call has gone out. EE1D to accompany it here as they're looking to get as much of an intel bank as possible. Blaz forced away from now. We're going to see that drone get eaten up, so it may not have gotten a good view on him, but the shot being sent towards it, obviously, will still affirm his position. So he doesn't feel he has confidence to play this anymore. Decides to finally fall back, because we are encroaching on the 1 minute marker anyway, so I think his time here has been played out for the most part.
Absolutely. You'd much rather have the gun on the site than trying to play for a portion of the map where Beast Coast can practically overwhelm your position. It's like what we saw earlier happen against Blaz. Parabellum, though, they're doing a much better job of staying alive and being able to fight back because of it. So much firepower sitting on the site at the current moment. Ferda will be able to take down Doc, so they'll equalize here, but Parabellum, they have got this locked and sealed for the site setup. Blaz with a beautiful reposition here. You can catch anybody hopping down that laundry hatch. It'll be feet first and a kill for him more than likely, but it'll be the angles from Anthony. Slash will double back though, be able to take him down. Case control in his hand, but more than likely no chance for him to try and put this on the ground. Has some very good info game working in for Parabellum here as well with those evil eyes from Eska. They're gonna have Ferda move in and try and lock things up here. Nice shots coming in from PB though will befall both members of Beast Coast, and it's gonna require max OT here on Villa to decide our winner.
Yep, so PB holds on, sends us to the very final round of this matchup, where we'll get that decision finally in terms of who's going to be able to best things out and take at least a few commiseration points with them on their way out of the season. Look like it's going to be an AVG defense coming out from Beast Coast. No huge change-ups for the defense on the picks as of yet, but as you can see, their Kool-Aid going to be risking it potentially with the Montaigne pick coming out yet again. The last time we saw this didn't pan out too well for the squad, but this was also against a trophy take, not an AVG take, so could play it a little bit differently this time. That's assuming, of course, it also survives the repick phase, because they might see something here that makes them believe they can pull this off without the Montaigne.
Absolutely. I will say this, though, is if they do end up going with the Monty again, and they have Asian in very similar positioning, this could go extremely well for them. He did such a good job of capitalizing on that situation and picking off a lot of Beast Coast members because of it.
All right, so it's looking like it's staying. No sign of a repick to show up just as of yet. And we've got...
Well, you just had to jinx it, didn't you?
Did he repick it? Oh, he literally
he did
repicked
indeed.
it just as I
As
mentioned
you
it. That's
said
funny.
it, he picked Yana, and they threw the Twitch on over to Asian. So they're looking to try and do this through firepower, and you can kind of see that across the board. They're bringing Lion to just try and force Beastcoast to stand still for a second so they can hit him. That's really about it. Everything else making quite a bit of sense. Sledge, potentially one of our most played operators on offense at the current moment, just makes a lot of sense. Great soft breach, frag grenades. Those are only on 3 people. Well, actually, technically 4 people if you want to count Glaz, but we don't really see Glaz with nades, do we? So.
No, we do not. So we'll continue to see the time tick down, however, and Surf waiting for an opportunity to potentially strike from an interior position just by the window here. Not looking like he's going to get lucky with it, really, as for the most part, PB are completely avoiding that part of the map, and I think he's now realized that. So he's going to rotate away, start to play a bit closer to some other portions of the map, like the inside of library as well as the living room, just to kind of fend off that clear should PB tend to drift in that direction. PB favoring, at the moment, a pretty heavy study clear, and that would make sense. With the previous play, they were favoring towards the Monte, but as Stokes had mentioned, drifting away from that, this is going to get a little bit more complicated for them, as they're definitely trying to work out some of the utility from down below here as well.
Well, I love the decision-making here. They do have 4 grenades, and they'll be able to break up things like deployable shields or Evil Eyes or really whatever is presented from Beast Coast. The big proprietors here on Beast Coast defense are going to be these mirror windows. They have got to counter out Xeno's Miras, and they get that done, John. And that's more than likely why we saw the Twitch come into play. They identified that Mira was on the field, and they wanted to make an adjustment so that they didn't have to deal with those mirror windows. It makes it a lot easier for them to take control of the site because you don't always have to worry about someone managing one of those black mirrors and tossing a nitro cell at you as soon as you go for execution. So Parabellum, they've at least gotten that across and are able to continue their merry way through this last round. But it's not going to be very merry for Kool-Aid, is it? He's going to lay in his grave right outside the piano door.
Kool-Aid down,
What a shot.
indeed, but the spirit lives on. Blaz is able to trade him back out, bring us back into a 4v4. Nitro from Xeno, though, to deny the follow-up plant, and he's now got the flank reestablished for the defenders here. Just a minute to go for PB. Thankfully, they have plenty of people waiting to hop in the window. Doc's going to take up the mantle next here. Xeno trying to swing into it. He's getting a little bit cautious about his current position here, but the defense is still striking. The plant goes down regardless, however. Doc first to fall in the post-plant situation. Just leaves Asian as well as Eska up and running here.
No.
And oh no, Eska wraps right back down the rope directly into the hop out from Ferda. He just has to left click and win there, and Surf shuts it down as well. So Beastcoast will get one final victory at the tail end of the stage here to buffer their season, which again hasn't been that great overall, but at least they get one final send-off here with a victory against Parabellum.
Very well done. Beast Coast locked it down, and a lot of tears being shed, a little smack talk back and forth, but I mean, Beast Coast haven't had a lot to cheer about this stage, so I'm happy that they finally get something to put them back in their own good graces. You know, a lot of these players hold themselves to a very, very high bar, and it's very punishing for the mental, so good for Beast Coast to end on a high note, but you really can't say the same when it comes to Parabellum. There's a lot of questionable stuff from both of these teams, and I think there is quite a bit to learn through this matchup.
For PB, it's very much the opposite turn of events. A great start to the stage for them, but things slowly petered off here. Now they are going to drop that final match, leaving them in 9th place at the end of the stage. And for Beast Coast, also, even with that victory, still going to be locked in at 10th. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for myself and Stokes for this season, but we've got one more match remaining, so don't go anywhere just yet. We're going to go to a short break. When we do return, the analysis desk will be breaking this one down and getting you ready for the final matchup of the season.
Welcome back to the Rainbow Six North American League. Analyst Jacob Jesse here with you. And over in Las Vegas, we have a player from the winning team, Beastcoast, getting it done 8-7 in overtime. It's none other than Ferda. Ferda, you're out there?
Hello.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. So here you are in the Rainbow Six North American League. Some kind of visa shenanigans going on at the beginning of the stage, but you finally got here. You finally played some games. Put up a good performance here in the last one. Kind of give me your stage and review a little bit. What's the experience been like coming to the NAL?
I mean, it's been tough for myself. You know, I came over and I wasn't able to play right away. I was able to be in the country, but I couldn't compete. You know, that's really heartbreaking as a player.
Yeah.
And the boys, you know, faced a lot of adversity, and I'm proud of the last two wins that we were able to pull out.
Obviously, you know, not the best circumstances. I know very well firsthand how tough it can be being Canadian trying to work in the U.S. But you're here now, and I do want to ask you, obviously, coming in, it wasn't the greatest start to the stage for you, like stats-wise, but what do you think can you draw out of this stage in terms of the positives, right? What do you think you've been able to learn? What do you think you've been able to grow, improve on throughout this stage here on Beastcoast?
You know, coming in, you never realize how hard it's actually going to be until you play a match. I came in pretty confident. I got humbled really quick. So I think I just have to take it game by game and, you know, realize every matchup's going to be tough. And then from there, I just need to, you know, continue to improve every day, practice in and out. And, you know, there's a lot of little things that, you know, can help you as a player, like whether it be, you know, routines, other games, like practicing other games, things like that. I just think, you know, going on about like just, you know, getting your head down and grinding.
You ended the stage out with still 2 dubs. Obviously, they were both in overtime. They were super hard fought. But what was the thing that clicked for those last 2 games to make sure you walked away with something from the end of the stage? And as a bonus point, do you think that if you had been able to come in for those first 2 weeks, that maybe those 2 wins could have come way earlier for the team?
I mean, you never really know. I wasn't able to play, so you know, it could have gone either way. I think being able to you know, come in after and get the last 2 dubs, we really just, you know, we sat down and we had a talk because it was tough for everybody. You know, going 0-5 or 0-6, whatever it was, you know, that has a lot of effect on a player. So, you know, we took the time, we talked through a lot of things, and, you know, we just changed it around for the last 2 play days, and it seemed to work out well.
So one more quick question before we let you go. So obviously, here we are at the end of stage 3. Like you said, it's been tough. It's been humbling a little bit, but you were able to kind of come out on a positive note at the end. What's the goal for the off season for you personally? What are you going to want to accomplish here?
I think as a team, you know, just get down, get ready for invite quals, and make sure we come into that fully prepared, and come out of that on top. You know, that's our goal as a player and as a team. You want to make it to the big events and perform well there. So we're going to take the time in the off season to, you know, really keep our head down, fix our mistakes, and improve for the next stage and, you know, for the foreseeable future.
All right. Well, congrats on the win today. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us, and good luck in the off-season practice.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. For to win this time in Beastcoast's 8-7 victory here, and he did come out on top stats-wise. A good turnaround for a player that had certainly struggled personally, but also a kind of like bright spot, a silver lining, if you will, at the end of a really rough stage for Beastcoast.
Absolutely. I mean, you'd love to see it from Ferda. He's definitely been a player that I think a lot of people are rooting for, myself included. Did not have, great circumstances to start. Of course, wasn't able to play the first few games, finally came in, struggled in his first couple of matches, but thankfully he does come out and have a good game to end out the stage, and they get the win. That's back-to-back wins for Beastcoast. I mean, despite all the troubles they've had throughout this stage, ending it with 2 high points has got to feel good and got to at least give them some motivation to push forward, and as Ferda was talking about, go into those SI quals.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, if you look about it too, Beastcoast really did pull a bit of a turnaround in this one. I mean, they were, 1 round away from getting taken out. They managed to take it to overtime. They managed to win it in overtime. So I think that shows a certain amount of resilience for a squad that needs to show that kind of thing. But as we were talking about a little bit earlier, there were results from that one. The first one being Dark Zero has qualified for the 6 Invitational. They've done it now on points, as has XSET. So that's 4 teams, I believe it is, from North America already locked in for the 6 Invitational. A strong set of squads. But it's interesting because now, we'll get into our last match a little bit later. But, let's talk a little bit more about this one first. Let's talk about Parabellum for a moment. What happened? Kind of a collapse at the end there. It was a bit of a round that, a bit of a match rather, that didn't end up meaning the most for them as a team. I'm sure that factored into it a little bit. We can jump into that as we talk about some of these replays. So the first one we're going to talk about is going to be round number 7, and I actually think we have a telestration for that one. So break it down for
Get over there.
In fact, though, I'm known by many names, okay? Some people will call me an analyst, some a statistician, some a professor,
sure.
Some an XSET repper. However, I'm also little known, a detective. And today we're going to solve the mystery of the disappearing Blaz. Now, I want to focus in to start here on round number 7. It's an AVG defense. Let's notice the initial position, all right? Blaz out here on the rappel outside of study. Very normal position. He's got the defuse kit. He's feeling really good. Asian's droning him in. And we've got Anthony MGS here on the main stairs watching him so that he can't get through it. Awesome. So let's press play. And both of our observer POVs, both our top-down and our first-person observer, rightfully go down and catch the action down here inside of Piano. Doc's taking on 2 players on the defense. Of course, very interesting stuff. Good to go down and check all of this. And in the meantime, while both of our observers were looking away, something strange happens up on the top floor. Boom! All of a sudden, Blaz has reappeared, no longer on the study balcony, but in the site. If we push forward a little bit farther, he will actually go in and be in a prime plant position. Now, how, I wonder, is he able to get through here? There's 2 possibilities. A, he walks right on through. B, he jumps out and comes in through the window. Either way, he's got to walk past a pretty big cross line coming in from Anthony. Anthony still has 3 toxic babes. Anthony knows his teammate is holding downstairs, so he doesn't need to be looking down there. For some reason, he's able to get on past here. Now, I think the clever ones among us may have come to the correct answer here. Blaz is a ghost. Blaz went invisible to move across the study site and get into the bomb site, get into a prime planting position, which he then uses to go forward and win the round for Parabellum. This man has been so good for PB this game, and that may be because of good gunplay, it may be because of the clutch factor, but it may also be because when the cameras are off, he's up to some no good shenanigans. I think the league should be looking into this. And I think it's something that we should be paying very close attention to going forward.
I have a dispute on your ghost claim, Jesse. I hate to break it to you.
What?
I don't see how Blaz can be a ghost because Ghost used to play for Beastcoast, and that's a different guy.
He doesn't anymore, though.
It's more than one ghost, though.
It's a different guy. I mean, he is the ghost of Beastcoast. That's kind of what it reminds
me of. The ghost
me
of Parabellum past, at least. At this point.
Haunting PB in this game, for sure.
Well, it was a haunting result for many of the members of PB, I'm pretty sure. That's at the end of the day. Yeah. Anyway, moving on to our next round. It's going to be round number 10. And this was an encouraging moment from Beastcoast. This was a kind of slick 2v4 that they put together. Let's check that one out.
Round you're not supposed to win. They really were not supposed to. It's a Zerf Cino clutch. After Parabellum already have obtained so much map control, they're about to move back in. Beastcoast's biggest thing about these last two games has been resiliency. Even when they've been down, they've clawed these bad boys back. This was where Parabellum was supposed to win immediately. The whole push begins to fall apart. It's 1v1s back and forth consistently. Kool-Aid finally gets a push. He will get Surf off the rip, but then it's Zeno all the way back from Z Hall. He finds it instead. It's moments like this that make me think that there is something deep down about this Beastcoast team that should work. They understand win times are tough, especially after that talk that Slashhug and Ferda both said that they had after 7 straight losses. I just wish we could have seen more of that earlier in the stage.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. Beastcoast with a lot to think about, a lot to maybe shuffle around in the offseason. We'll see what happens before SI Quals rolls around, but that's going to do it for our 4th map of the day. Time for a quick break, and when we come back, Dark Zero versus XSET. Does it have major implications? No. Does it have SI implications? No. Does it have any points implications of any kind? No. But it's still going to be a fun map of Rainbow Six, so definitely come back and watch it here on the NAL in just a few.